It's not possible! No one's ever been able to...
Hey guys, this is Joey, aka TheChillin. On the Forbidden Squee, we're going to do a Nekroz profile. This is a 42 card build with some of the tribute spice that you've seen going around, but this is better than the rest. So let's get right into it. We'll start off with 3 Clausolas. I've seen a lot of builds running 2, but with the Kaleido going around, you can actually use one of these for the search, and if you ever have one or more in your hand, you can use this to fill out for the rest of the tribute, or the summon off of the tribute for Kaleido, and get the negation for the targeting and 0 attack, so you can start pushing for game faster for extra monsters, which is like really efficient right now. And with the incantations, you can discard. You can use any of the incantations because this can be either ritual monster or spell.
Nice.
Then next card we have Unicore. Doesn't really need an explanation. If this was it,
Broken.
more than one,
Control.
I would be playing more than one. Not only because the floodgate effect is good, but because like in this deck, the discard effects is actually really good, but you can't use it in the same way that you were never able to use the Brio field effect when it was at 1, because you have to use it for the search. You have to use each of them for the good effect, but if this comes back to 2, you can actually do so much more with the deck because the discard effect gives you recursion. Next one we're going to have Nekroz of Brionac. I wasn't able to get mine before the price spiked when the ban list was announced.
Oof.
They went to 120 within 30 minutes, and I just didn't want to do that. So when the reprint comes out, it'll probably drop down to, like, right now it's at 60, it'll be 40-ish. But Brio 3 doesn't really need a lot of explanation. It's the searcher of the deck. It gives you, like, balancing for extra monsters that are problems like Colossus, etc. It's just super, super good. And if you see one of these in hand, you probably have, like, at least a Unicore and like 2 or 3 hand traps in hand of the Nekroz monsters. Next we have 1 Gungnir. I was playing this at 2, but when Brio got announced, I wanted to run 1 of this and 2 Trish. But this just protects any Nekroz you have in the deck. It keeps you safe, and if you do need some kind of spot removal and you just summon it, you discard Nekroz monster, pop a card, quick effect. So you out almost anything that is just needs spot removal when the enemy is comboing.
Nice.
But you almost always use it for the hand effect anyways. Next we run 3 Valk. This is actually one of the best cards in the deck because not only can you use the field effect, which doesn't actually come up that often, but the stopping the battle phase lets you, because your deck isn't inherently spammy, you need to slow your opponent down, and if they can't battle over your monsters and you use your other protection effects correctly, you can actually slow the game down and like use your negations to keep them from popping off and destroying all your combo pieces. Then floodgates like Unicore, like if they just summon a bunch of monsters and you protect your guys correctly and they can't use extra deck to out your Unicore, you just end the battle phase and they can't battle over you. And on top of that, one of the things people don't even remember is this card, you just tribute 2 monsters, draw up to 2 cards for each monster you tributed. Next we have 1 Trish. We're actually going to bump this to 2 as soon as the reprints come out, because right now it's slightly expensive and like saving money. One of the things people don't remember, because Trish is at 1, people always remember the field effect, which is banish 3, and you can't actually resolve this unless they have all 3 targets at the same time. It's not like the Synchro, where you can just target 2, and if they don't have cards in hand, you can still resolve the effect. You can't resolve the effect if they have no cards in hand. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, like, if you're playing against Nekroz and you just remember that, that's good advice that I can give. The hand trap effect, though, is it negates targeting. So, any kind of spot removal they would use on, like, your Unicore, that's why I wanted 2 of these, on, like, your Unicore for any kind of, like, Widow Anchor, etc., this just negates. So, you can protect your Unicore that way from matchups like Sky Striker and like, the occasional Poltergeist card. And once that's at 2, it's a warrior, so you can just search it off of Shurit. Because Shurit searches ritual Nekroz warriors. Next we have the Decisive Armor. I was actually thinking about cutting this because of all the searchability and negations, but this thing outs the occasional boss monster that you don't have another way to out, like something that's immune to, like a Colossus if you can't get to Brio or Unicore. Just battling over him, I said that wrong. If you have the Unicore but you can't out the Colossus, you just ditch this during damage step. And this gives you 1,000 tech till the end of the turn. So you can out your Colossus. What other problem cards are there right now? Well, there's not a lot of other ones, but that's kind of the big one. Yeah. Next, we're going to go into the Spice. So this is all the Nekroz monsters. We have one copy of Cyber Angel Benten. This comes up a bit later, but we use this to tribute to search a Light Fairy, which a lot of people might have an idea for, but
Interesting Cyber Angel tech.
just one of, yeah. And then one Chalislime. This is actually correct because you never need more than one of these. You just use the hand effect to discard a card, summon an incantation from deck to get literally any tool you need out of your deck. That's Nekroz or ritual monster or spell. He has a field effect too, where you can was it target? I think it was target, and then just destroy one monster, just because. Yeah, just send one incantation from your hand or face up on field, and then just pop a card. So it's just kind of nice removal, but it doesn't actually get summoned that often. I've only summoned it like maybe 25% of the time. And yeah, also there's a penalty. If you use its effect and then don't ritual summon, you take 2,500 points of damage. So be aware. That was it for the ritual monsters total. Now we're going to get into some of the effect monsters. We're going to run the one Shurit. Thank God this came back. This was what the deck needed actually to start becoming like kind of good. This deck actually, if it sees anything else off the ban list, like hopefully Unicore to maybe 2, then I think this deck actually becomes like rogue at best. Maybe if something happens that makes everything extra related, this could become unlikely. This, when tribute, searches all your ritual warriors too, and counts as the entire ritual requirement. Which, if you've played against Nekroz, I think you're pretty aware because getting Trish next turn sucks. Next, we're going to run 3 copies of Manju, which is a Light Fairy, but isn't actually our search target for the Benten. But this is just a great normal summon. We're only running a total of 6 normal summons in the deck. It searches anything you need, and it makes all of your incantations live.
It's just why not?
It searches everything. There's no reason not to. You just, unfortunately, if you see this with one of your other normal summons, your tribute summons, you want to go for the tribute summon if you can, because it's a lot more powerful. Next we run, these are the ratios, I'm going to put them all out. We have 3 Pencilplume, 2 Candoll, 3 Bookstone, and 2 Talismandra. So I've seen some people with the recent wave of incantations coming out with Chalislime and the Ritual Spell. They're running 2-2, 2 and 2, which I think is actually still a little incorrect, because with the tributing engine for like the Zaborgs and stuff like that, you want to start these, and keeping it as a 10-card engine isn't efficient. Like having a 12-card engine, these 10 plus the Ritual Monster and Spell is way more likely that you're going to open this and have 2 tributes for your summon, as well as opening these in particular. You can you want to start these because they get their effects when they're summoned from deck. So these ones search from deck. These ones recur from grave when they're summoned from deck. So you reveal this one in hand or this one. This summons from deck first and gets the search then this summons. Having 3 of each increases your chance of opening this rather than this. You don't want to open these 2. You want to open this one because this recurs from grave and you don't have stuff in your grave on your first turn, which makes sense. Let me read it like this. Searches a monster, gets a monster from grave. Searches a spell, gets a spell from grave. That's it. Really easy.
What's like the worst incantation ratio you've seen someone run?
Actually, I think the worst one is just like 2, 2, 2, and 2. I actually disagree with that one quite a bit because if you do like running 2 is correct for the searchers, but not if you open a searcher, you can't use its own effect because you can't summon itself from deck. Like if I reveal and summon Candoll or reveal a Candoll from hand, I can't summon a Candoll from deck. I could summon a what's it called, Talismandra, which is correct, but it's really wrong, and I don't see why people do it, especially in the tributing builds. Next, we're going to run 2 Zaborg, which you've seen a lot of. A lot of people are expecting 3 here, but the reason we don't have 3 is because we're using another tribute, and it's our Vanity's Ruler. So the Vanity's Ruler is a Light Fairy, which is searchable off Benten. If you open, I think it was 3 search cards in this deck, and the whole deck searches itself. There's numerous 3-card combos, over 85% of the time you're going to open 3 searchers, you will be able to get to a Benten and then tribute the Benten using a ritual spell. And the search is this. And you don't really need normal summons in deck, but like the level 4s, the Manjus help. But if you don't open that, or you ideally don't, you tribute some of the Vanities, and you have that next to like a Unicore with several cards in hand, and your opponent can't play the game. Unless they're playing Monarch or True Draco. Yeah, they just lose.
Yeah.
Like, you can't even kaiju this, because that would be attempting to special summon. This is a floodgate.
That's true.
It prevents kaijus, and they can't kaiju Unicore, which people are going to start running now because, one, the structure deck came out, which is like, you know, not that kaijus are expensive, but everyone's going to start running them. It's great against Sky Striker, but if they have the kaiju, they can't kaiju Vanities or anything, because it's attempting to special summon.
Well, Kaiju slumbers off.
This is true. It's also like an $8 card now, which is really weird. But if you kaiju slumber, then I guess, but I don't know, maybe. I don't think if you're, usually when I see kaijus, it's like 4 kaijus, and then if you're running slumber, I guess 5 or 3. But yeah, if they're running slumber and they start it, then I guess you're a little out of luck for the Vanities. Next we're going to go into the ritual spells. So this is, I think the correct ratio is 2 Mirror, 2 Kaleido, 1 Cycle, and then 1 Inception. So
Not triple Kaleido?
No, triple Kaleido hasn't really been that great for a while because 2 reasons. One, each of these you can only use the ritual once per turn. So I can't ritual summon with Nekroz Mirror twice per turn, which means opening multiples is bad. Also, you want to use, I think your first Kaleido is correct for your going first turn. You want to use it for Unicore anyways, so you can't use the second one. The second one is your power play that you're going to use when you summon, like, you do the Trish play. So if you go Trish Clausolas, you use a 12 from your extra deck, and then that's your big OTK. Your first turn isn't really it's like the floodgate. You're not trying to make a big board. You save the big play for later. And then the Cycle at 1, because I wanted to put this in, and also Cycle, you don't actually cycle as often as you would think. And if we had Unicore at more than 1, I would actually play 2. But we don't, so cycle at 1, I think, is actually correct. And it gives us room to play this, which is a 4th ritual spell, because you can only technically ritual summon 3 times in the old deck, because you can only use these once per turn. This gives us a 4th ritual summon, which, if you needed it, is really good. And also, this thing recurs itself from grave, so I'll also use it in grave. It's got a graveyard effect. You send from your hand or face up on the field into the graveyard 1 incantation monster, and summon 1 incantation from deck, then add this to your hand to reuse. And I don't think this has a hard once per turn. No, it is. It is once per turn. So you can only use this once per turn, but this also is part of the reason you run 3 of the recursion spells, because after the recursion incantations, so the level 3 and the 5, the one that recur from grave, this thing just summons them from deck and gets you things that you used last turn. So on your second turn, this is like one of the best rituals. Also, if you do open 1 of the Nekroz, this is a really good search, because once you get this in grave, you just start generating advantage, and it's ridiculous. That's all we have for spells. 6 spells. And we're going to run, finish off, 3 Prep. It's a good card. This one looks really bad. I don't know why this is. I think this is NA versus U. I think this one's actually not that ugly. I think the darker one looks more and is cool. But 3 Prep, obvious. This, you search your Brio, or if worst case scenario, Benten or Gungnir. But yeah, and then 1 Rhoda. Rhoda searches your Colossus and your Shurit.
Nice.
It's just a consistency card.
Yeah.
And then for the extra deck, this is actually a few cards are in other decks right now, but we would be running 1 Tatsunoko. This will be my Tatsunoko. 3 Herald for the Zaborg play. Also, you'll see we can recycle one of these later. 1 Coral.
Bigger Tatsunoko.
Yeah, slightly bigger Tatsunoko. Also, worst case scenario, when you're going second, and you decide if you put in like any of the lolly hand traps, this plus Colossus, you can make this with Colossus if you really needed to like start climbing into like one of your other synchros, which I've been trying to test with like some Exobeetle stuff, but that's not in this build. 1 Clear Ring, I'm using this because it's just one of my favorite cards, but I would probably realistically be using a Black Rose, but my Black Rose is in my other deck. But
nice.
It looks really good. 1 Omega. This is actually a really good target to send off of the Zaborg play. 1 Shooting Star, and 1 Quasar. No, not like that. Actually, there's a Star Eater somewhere in here. I think it's actually in my binder, but this will be my Star Eater. Yeah. So Star Eater is actually the level 11 comes up more than you'd think. Actually, a lot of people have been just doing these two, or just 10 and 12, but the 11 for either Unicore Gungnir or Clausolas Valkyrus. Just when you have stuff in your hand, this just helps fix a lot of your Kaleido targets if just bad things happen.
How often do you pump out a Quasar?
You can actually do that with the Exebeetle combo. I'm not running it in this build, but now that Brio's at 3, I want to test it in another one. With the Exebeetle, you equip this, and I guess that's a graveyard, you can get this guy out. So, it's kind of neat, but I haven't actually had it come up yet. I've only had a few decks to test against, and I haven't thought that was necessary, because usually the Nekroz deck itself does all the work.
So you're not really itching for room in the extra deck?
Kind of. There's... If anything, some of the lower targets could go, but having targets that can just summon out Brio and stuff like that is really good. If anything, I might cut the 7. 2 Norden, Tis, my bad. Wishful thinking on my part.
I wish.
Tis is actually a good Zaborg target. Also, if you're going second and you have Kaleido with Unicore, you can disrupt, getting out some kind of floodgate and like a back row or something, and summon the Unicore with it. If you don't need more searches. And then 2 Toad. I was actually running 3 of these at one point, but Toad gets you back when it's just sent to graveyard. So off the Zaborg play, you get to add what you've used to search so far. So probably your Brio and your Colossus. This is the only really discard searches you have, and just get those back for you. So man,
cut that out.
No.
Yeah, I'm gonna go into the side deck next.
Side deck? Oh, fuck. No one cared about who I was until I went second. Do you edit these, or...?
Cool. I'm gonna get into the side, because there's actually 6 cards that are the big reason you go into the side, but the other ones are just nice to have on top. Starting off, we're gonna go 3 Ash. It's going second. It kind of gives you any chance of slowing your opponent down, so they don't just make it impossible to go. This makes it feasible to go second. And then we have Hankertops, which is great double removal. It gets around a lot of things, especially when your opponent already has a board established. It's just obviously a good card to go into. No real explanation needed.
Halfway.
Triple Twin Twister. I've been actually thinking about doing Typhoon because of the Griffin Imperial Order combo, making this not really realistic. But at the same time, I guess on that first turn it is. The Typhoon is an out to the Imperial Order, but this thing just gets rid of, messes up the Altergeist matchup. Any kind of backer you're going to see right now. You're not going to see Pendulums, but it's just a really good card. Triple Red Reboot. Altergeist isn't really showing up, doesn't have a lot of representation, but it stops any deck that wants to resolve a trap against you. So, if someone, per se, was activating a Solemn to stop a ritual spell, they can't activate that, because this card says no to traps. Sorry, Aiden. And then, this is the star of the side deck, is evenly matched. So, this has been a good going second card for a while, but in this deck it's particularly good because after you resolve this, you go into your battle phase, you get rid of everything but 1 after you burn their negates, and then you summon Trishula, and they have 1 card left on the field, and that opens their entire field to anything you want to do next turn. Just make sure they have a card in hand, and don't make it obvious that you haven't evenly matched before then.
That's crazy.
I did think about actually running, I've been seeing some builds with the Dance Princess. I think I want to start trying that actually, but for the main deck. Because the Dance Princess says you can't get Solemns and stuff, and it's got a lot of value in running it. And that's my Nekroz build. This is probably the best build I've seen in a long time for the Nekroz since the builds came out. Signing off from Forbidden Squee. Peace.